Hello, this is Sarah, and for this video I'm going to be talking about chart rectification again. And I will be talking about rectifying a birth chart using the midheaven, and what I will be explaining to you in this video is basically finding the right ascension of the midheaven, or the RAM. And just to verify, rectifying a birth chart is an important part of astrology and is also one of the more complicated things to do. So it's a bit more advanced than just, telling you a bit about sign or houses. If you don't understand it, just go with it and maybe you can learn some things on the way. If you do not know your proper birth time, your chart can be off by the ascendant and the midheaven, and also your transiting planets when you get to like electional astrology and horoscopes can also be off. So we can figure out the times that a transit will hit for a certain event using a correctly rectified birth chart. And to rectify a birth chart, what you're doing is basically just finding the most accurate birth time possible. And for this method of rectification, you will want an approximate birth time. So I'm going to demonstrate to you and explain and hopefully teach you how to do this yourself. So I'm going to basically start with making a chart for someone, and I'm just going to call this person example A. And this is a real person, and his birthday was June 16th, 1948, and his approximate time is about 9:30 p.m. And as long as you have at least if it's within maybe 2 hours of what it is, that can work for your approximate time. And when rectifying a chart, the best house system to use would be the equal house system. Placidus is a good house system, but for rectifying, it makes it a little easier because since you don't know the actual birth time, you can't really determine exactly what house cusps, where each house cusp is in each sign. And that's a very important part of this method of rectification. So I'm making here's this person's birth chart. The first thing you want to do after you've made the approximate birth time is to think of an important life event and determine to which house the event corresponds. So for this person, his life event was an opening of his own business. Opening one's own business his business was in the helping profession, so helping others, and his own business was of his own, so it was a definitely independent business venture. And he was the first time he ever had a client or a customer. So for this event, basically every house could correspond to his situation. It could be the first because it's an independent venture, it's about himself, getting away from working for others, working for yourself. It could even be the second house, business, money, gaining resources, etc. It could even be the third house, communication, helping, or the fourth house, sense, making your own place, changing locations, etc. Even be the fifth, expressing one's own, finding your own identity. Also speculation, gambling. It could even be the sixth, the way in which one works. It could be the seventh, which would be relationships with other people, helping other people. Also business. It could be the eighth. And it could be the ninth, or the 10th since it's profession, the 11th, other people. But since it corresponds to all of these houses, I'm going to use the 12th house for this particular person and for this event. So now that I've determined that I'm going to use the 12th house in order to rectify this chart, it takes me to step 2, which is to determine the planetary ruler of the house. And I've gotten a few questions on this, on how to determine the planetary rulers of houses. And to determine this, it is a little different from the signs. Rulers of houses actually correspond to what sign the house cusp is in. So in this case, just for an example, For example, the second house cusp for this person lies in Aquarius. So in order to determine the second house cusp ruler, we take the planetary ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus, and that becomes the planetary ruler of this person's second house. So in the case of the 12th house, that cusp right here is in Sagittarius, and the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. So I'm going to use the planet Jupiter, as the significant planet, because that is the ruler of the corresponding house that I'm using to rectify this chart. And that's kind of the important part of this. So now that we know the significant planet to use for this person in order to rectify their chart, we're going to calculate the AE, or what is also called the arc of the event. And to determine this, you want to take the exact date of the event, and you want to subtract the person's birth date from this event, and then you will convert it into degrees and minutes. And then with the degrees and minutes, with the answer you get, in order to convert, the answer you get for the days, you will divide that by 6. So for every 6 days equals 1 minute. And then for the months, you will actually multiply that by 5. So then for every 1 month equals 5 minutes. So for this person, date of the event was October 31st, 1990, and of course his birthday was June 16th, 1948. So we're going to subtract all of that, and we get 31, the day, minus 16 equals 15, and then 10 minus 6 equals 4, and then 1990 minus 1948 equals 42. Then to convert, take the answer for the days, which is 15, and divide that by 6, and that will equal roughly 2. Do not need it to be exact, because it's not really going to make that much difference. And then for the month, we're going to multiply that by 5, so we get 20, and then you want to add those to get the minutes. So even if it's a negative value, you will still add those, and then just subtract that. And if it is a negative value and you do yours, then you would subtract that from the degrees answer. So the AE, or arc of event, for this person is 42 degrees, 22 minutes. Which brings us to step 4. So now that we know the arc of the event, which is a very important part of this, and we know that Jupiter is going to be the significant planet in which to rectify this chart, we want to determine which formula to use based on the quadrant where the significant planet is located. And the quadrants are grouped in between the 1st and 7th line house and the 10th and the 4th. Those are what make up the quadrants. And in order to figure out the formula, I have a lovely diagram that gives you each quadrant and also the formula that corresponds. And just as a note, this is not the case for this particular chart, but I see there are red asterisks there, and so if the significant planet you are using is close, like say 5 or plus or minus 5 degrees from the 10th house cusp or 9th house cusp, then you just basically make the midheaven or the 4th house cusp conjunct to your significant planet, which makes really rectifying much easier. For this person, we see that Jupiter is positioned in quadrant A, and that formula is the RA, or also known as the right ascension, minus the arc of the event of the AE. And the RA is the right ascension of the position of your significant planet. And in order to find that, in order to do this formula, you can either, if you have the Solar Fire Gold, which I have, you can actually look at the reports. And on the first report on chart analysis, actually gives the right ascension right here. But if you do not have software that does this, or you're not able to get software that does this, I also have right here a handy right ascension table. And if you want to find one, you can Google it in images and it'll most likely pop right up. Or you can go to the Sarastrology Facebook page, and it's in the photos section. or there's also a copy of it on my Tumblr blog, which I will put links to in the description of this video. So back to this rectification, on the right ascension table, Jupiter is at, to determine the right ascension this way, we can see that Jupiter is at 23 degrees Sagittarius. So we go to the sign degree, 23, and then over to Sagittarius. So, and we take the longer or larger value, which for this particular case, Jupiter's right ascension is at 262 degrees, 22 minutes. And basically after we find that, you just plug in those numbers in the formula. So we get 262 degrees, 22 minutes, minus 42 degrees, 22 minutes, which will give us the answer of 220 degrees. And this is the right ascension of the midheaven. And so now that we have that answer, which is a very important answer, you're actually going to want to convert that answer back to the other formula, which would be the degree and what sign. So you're going to consult the RA table again to determine the degree and sign for the new midheaven. And to do that, and so we just go back and you just work backwards. So for this case, the answer was 220 degrees even, and that corresponds to about 13 degrees Scorpio. So we want to go to back to the chart, our base chart of the approximate birth time, and we're going to change the midheaven to the new degree found from step 5. Now, like I said, it's supposed to be at 13 degrees Scorpio, so just type in 13 Scorpio. And this person, approximate birth time was about 9:30 p.m., and with rectification, found it to be at 10:24 p.m., which was midheaven at 13 degrees Scorpio and the ascendant at 19 degrees Capricorn. So that is how you rectify a birth chart using this method. This is a relatively good way, I think, to rectify the chart. There are other videos on other methods to rectify birth charts, but I would not say this is the really tried and true method. I haven't quite established what method is the best or what method should be used more. So it's really up to you to decide what works best. And I found that for some people, this method works well with their actual time, and with some people it doesn't so much. You can use different ways. And there are other videos where I go through other methods. But this is a good one to start, but it is actually probably one of the more complicated to do, just because there's a bit of math and a little algebra. But that's all for this video, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something, and I hope this video is more coherent than my last one using the same method. So please subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to check out my website.